Good evening, everyone. Today, our team presents an MBA oriented analytical perspective on the movie The Devil Wears Prada, which is released on 2006, directed by David Frankel, and based on the best selling novel by Lauren Westbach. At the first glance, it appears to be a glamorous fashion comedy drama starring Meryl Streep as Miranda Priestley and Anna Hathaway as Andy Sachs. However, beneath the culture, cosmetics, and the charisma lies a powerful corporate case study. This film is not just about fashion, it is about leadership archetypes, organizational culture and hierarchy, workplace power dynamics, professional identity transformation, ethical decision making under pressure. For MBA students like us, this film functions as a live simulation of executive environments compressed into 109 minutes. When we talk about the plot review of this movie, Andy Sachs, a recent journalism graduate, secures a job as a junior assistant to Miranda Priestley, who is an editor in chief of Runway magazine, a fictional representation of elite fashion publishing world. Andy enters the organization as an outsider, intellectually competent but culturally misaligned. Her journey evolves through three stages. First is the survival phase, where she is struggling to meet the impossible expectations. Second is the assimilation phase, where she conforming to corporate culture and gaining power. The third and the most important phase is the self realization phase. Here, she is questioning the ethical and the personal cost of the success. This is not merely a career progression arc, it is an identity reconstruction narrative. When we talk about the novelty and the originality of the film, unlike traditional like difficult boss narratives such as 9 to 5 or The Proposal, this film does not rely on exaggerated villainy or romantic destruction. Instead, it offers structural realism. First, fashion as a corporate power metaphor. In this film, fashion is not superficial, it's a symbolic capital. Every outfit, accessory, and aesthetic decision reflects status hierarchy, access to influence, informal power structures, cultural alignment, which consider the Crillian sweater monologue. Miranda dissembles Andy's assumption that fashion is rebel, explaining how high fashion decisions cascade down into mass market retail. From our lens of an MBA student, I would illustrate this as opinion leadership, industry value chain dynamics, top down diffusion of innovation, and brand authority shaping consumer behavior. Here, Miranda demonstrates a strategic foresight. She sees macro patterns which is invisible to others. Here, fashion becomes a metaphor for executive decision ripple effects. When we talk about the leadership, which is through cold authority, here Miranda's leadership style is fascinating because it lacks emotional warmth. She doesn't shout, she doesn't motivate, she doesn't inspire, she commands. Her most powerful phrase here is, "That's all." This minimalistic communication style reflects hyper distance relationship, which is leadership, fear based compliance system, authority embedded in reputation, performance driven culture. Unlike transformation leaders who rely on charisma, Miranda embodies positional authority. From an organizational behavior perspective, employees operate in anticipatory obedience. Standards are not implicit, not explicit. Mistakes are punished socially and not emotionally. This is elite performance culture without psychological safety. Next comes the internal conflict over the external drama. Most workplace films center our focuses on romance, or revenge. Whereas here, the central conflict is internal. Andy's dilemma is not can I survive? It is who am I becoming? As she rises professionally, her appearance changes, her circle shrinks, her romantic relationships deteriorates, her ethical boundaries shift. This film highlights the identity shift, a phenomenon where individuals subconsciously reshape themselves to align with the corporate reward systems. This is especially relevant to the competitive MBA environment where ambition often competes with authenticity. Next comes the organizational cultural shock. Here, Andy's early misalignment represents the classical cultural misshift as she lacks industry language, aesthetic alignment, informal network capital, and cultural intelligence. Her transformation illustrates the social adaptation, her impression management, and personal branding strategy. But here lies the paradox. Professional success increases, whereas her personal satisfaction decreases. This is a psychological cost curve rarely portrayed with such nonsense. When we talk about the hustle culture, which is before it was a mainstream, long before burnout and toxic productivity became buzzwords, this film portrayed 24/7 availability expectations, emotional suppression, extreme performance pressure, work life boundary erosion. Here, Miranda does not view these as toxic. She views them as an elite standards. This tension mirrors modern corporate dilemmas. Is excellence inherently demanding, or can high performance coexist with human leadership?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Koshini, and I'll be discussing the key learnings and takeaways from the movie The Devil Wears Prada. Today, I'll walk you through four powerful takeaways that this movie offers. The lessons about adaptability, perception, mentorship, and most importantly, knowing your own worth. Takeaway one, let's start with Andy's journey at Runaway Magazine. When we first meet Andrea Shacks, she is an aspiring journalist whose views fashion with contempt, and she dresses how she wants, eats what she wants, and refuses to play a game. And what happens? She fails miserably. But there's a crucial point. Andy's failure isn't because she's incompetent. She's intelligent, hardworking, and graduated top of her class. Her failure stems from her refusal to adapt the organizational culture she's entered. Think about her early days. She laughs at the fashion obsessed staff, rolls her eyes at Miranda's demands, and expects her journalistic credentials to speak for themselves. But in communication, we learn that every organization has its own culture, its own way of doing things. And he was trying to succeed in Paris while speaking only English. Her turning point comes when she stops being defensive and starts being proactive. She memorizes the guest list before the benefit. She tracks down the unpublished Harry Potter manuscript. She anticipates needs before they become demands. Here, the lesson we can learn is that in any professional environment, success requires understanding the culture around you and adapting accordingly. This doesn't mean losing yourself, it means being smart enough to learn the rules of the game before you try to change them. Adaptability isn't weakness, it's strategic intelligence. Let's look at takeaway two, wherein perception is reality. When Andy complains that she is being mistreated despite working hard, Nigel delivers one of the film's most important lessons. He tells her, and I'm paraphrasing, that she's whining about things that are her own fault. She thinks she's above the fashion world, and that disdain is written, all of it. Nigel says something profound. You think this is just a magazine? This is not just a magazine. This is shining beacon of hope for little girls with frizzy hair. He's telling Andy that she's failing to respect what this world means to others. But more importantly, he teaches her that appearance communicates. Andy's chunky sweaters and disapproving expressions weren't just fashion choices. They were non-verbal messages saying, I don't belong here and I don't want to. In business communication, we learn that non-verbal cues often speak louder than words. After her makeover, Andy's appearance aligns with her environment. She's not selling out, she's finally communicating respect for the workplace and the people in it. And suddenly, people respond to her differently. Here we can learn that the perception is reality in professional settings. How you present yourself signals your attitude, your respect for others, and your understanding of the context. You can be the hardest worker in the room, but if your communication, verbal or non-verbal, suggests otherwise, perception will trump reality every time. Let's look into takeaway 3, wherein the value of mentorship in its own way. On the surface, Miranda is a nightmare boss. She is demanding, cold, and seemingly cruel. But here's what's interesting. Miranda is also an incredible mentor, just not in any unconventional sense. Consider that Andy learns from Miranda. She learns attention in detail, that one misplaced decimal is in a catering order matters. She learns excellence, that good enough never is. She learns the inner workings of a powerful industry, how decisions made in one office ripple across the globe. The curriculum sweater monologue is the perfect example. Miranda doesn't just dress down Andy, she educates her. She shows her that the fashion industry isn't frivolous. It's a massive economic force where creativity and commerce intersect. Andy also learns by observing Miranda's communication style. Notice how Miranda rarely raises her voice. Her power comes from paralanguage. Her controlled tone, her deliberate pauses, her whispered demands, she has mastered the communication of power. What we can learn here is mentors come in unexpected packages. Not all guidance comes with warmth and encouragement. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come from challenging environments and demanding teachers. Your job is to extract the wisdom without absorbing the toxicity. Learn what you can from everyone, even the difficult people. Let's look into takeaway 4, knowing your own worth and your limits. Throughout the film, Andy transforms. She becomes competent, confident, and powerful in her own right. She survives Paris, outmaneuvers her rival, and earns Miranda's rare approval. By conventional standards, she's won. But here's where the film transcends the typical success story. Andy looks at Miranda, at her loneliness, her multiple divorces, her admission that everyone who makes her life hell is just like Andy, and she realizes something terrifying. To succeed at Miranda's level, she would have to become Miranda. That final scene where Andy walks away from her ringing phone and crosses the bridge isn't about failure. It's about self awareness. She recognizes that the price of the particular success in her relationships, her integrity, and perhaps her soul. And she decides it's not worth. So in the takeaway, we see that success is subjective. The world will define success for you: more money, more power, more prestige. But the ultimate measure of success is internal. It's about knowing your values, understanding your limits, and having the courage to choose alignment over ambition, where the two conflict. Now, let's talk about strengths of the movie. Today, I'll break down 4 key strengths that elevate this film from a simple comedy drama to a modern classic. Let's talk about strength 1, performances, especially Meryl Streep. Let's begin with the elephant, or should I say the dragon, in the room. Meryl Streep's Miranda Presley. This performance is nothing short of a masterclass in acting. What makes it so remarkable is what Streep doesn't do. She doesn't shout, she doesn't rant, she doesn't resort to theoretical villainy. Instead, she commands every scene with a quiet, terrifying intensity that's far more effective than any outburst. Watch how she speaks, always in a controlled, almost whispered tone. Her voice never rises. Yet, everyone in the room freezes. This is paralanguage at its finest. The use of tone, pitch, and volume to communicate power. When Miranda speaks softly, people lean in. They strain to hear. She's not just talking, she's controlling the very air in the room. Then there's her physiology, the way she removes her sunglasses, the perfectly timed pause before delivering a devastating line, the slight raise of an eyebrow that speaks volumes. Streep understood that Miranda's power lies in what's unsaid. Consider the scene where she tells Andy everybody wants to be ours, delivered without arrogance, simply as a statement of fact. It's chilling because it's true. Streep makes us understand why this woman is feared and respected. She's not a monster, she's a force of nature. And here's the genius. Streep also shows us Miranda's vulnerability. The moment in Paris when she lets her guard down, speaking about her divorce with genuine pain, reminds us that beneath the armor there's human being. This complexity prevents Miranda from becoming a caricature and makes the film infinitely richer. This performance in the film's foundation without Streep's nuanced portrayal, the movie would collapse into a simple revenge fantasy against a mean boss. Instead, we get to study of power, ambition, and their costs. Let's look into strength two of the film, which is the screenplay and the dialogue. The great performance needs great words to speak, and the Devil Wears Prada delivers the one of the sharpest, most quotable screenplays of the 2000s. The dialogue crackles with wit and intelligence. Lines like florals for spring, groundbreaking, and that's all, have entered the cultural lexicon because they're perfectly crafted for their moments. But the screenplay's greatest achievement is the curriculum sweater monologue. Let me set the scene. Andy laughs at what she thinks is Miranda fretting over two seemingly identical bills. Miranda stops, stares, and then delivers what appears to be a rant about a sweater Andy is wearing. But it's not a rant, it's a lesson. Miranda walks Andy through the economics and influence of the fashion industry, how decisions made in that very office years ago trickle down to the clearance bin where Andy bought her unfashionable sweater. She is not being petty. She is demonstrating that Andy's supposed to superiority to the fashion world is built on ignorance. This scene is expository dialogue at its finest. In 2 minutes, the screenwriter educates the audience about the industry's significance, establishes Miranda's brilliance, and puts Andy in her place, all without feeling like a lecture. Every line serves multiple purposes. The screenplay also excels at subtext. When Miranda says, "That's all," those two words carry the weight of 1,000 demands. Where Nigel tells Andy, "I'm just one stomach flew away from my gold weight." We understand the desperate ambition lurking beneath the glamour. The dialogue entertains, reveals character, and the advances themes simultaneously. That's the hallmark of exceptional screenwriting. Coming to the third strength of this movie, that is character arc, Andy Sash. Great films are driven by character transformation, and Andy Sachs undergoes one of cinema's most compelling characters arcs. Notice how the film shows us her change rather than simply telling us about it. The visual storytelling is impeccable. In early scenes, Andy wears bulky sweaters, clunky shoes, and carries a disdainful expression. She literally doesn't fit in. Her clothes are wrong size, wrong color, wrong everything. After her makeover, her clothing becomes sleeker, more sophisticated, but more importantly, her body language changes. She walks with confidence, she makes eye contact, she makes with authority, she speaks with authority. The transformation isn't just external, it's reflected in how she carries herself. The film also shows her priorities shifting, and also early Andy rushes home to her boyfriend. Later, Andy misses his birthday for a week work event. Early Andy scoffs at fashion. Later, Andy identifies designers at a glance. These aren't superficial changes. They represent a fundamental reorientation of her values. What makes this arc so effective is that it's ambiguous. In Andy's transformation, empowering or concerning, is she growing or losing herself? The film refuses to give easy answers, which makes her journey feel authentic. And this ambiguity pays off in her final decision. When she walks away from Miranda and the ringing phone, we understand it completely because we have witnessed her entire journey. We have seen that she has gained and what she has lost. Her choice feels earned, not convenient. A character arc this well executed is rare. Andy's transformation drives the entire film and gives its ending genuine emotional weight. Let's talk about the strength four of this movie, which is pacing and direction. Finally, let's discuss the film's pacing and direction under David Frankel. The Devil Wears Prada moves like a well oiled machine. The opening montage juxtaposing Andy's ordinary life with the frantic energy of Runaway magazine immediately established the world she is entering. We feel the cultural shock with her. The film never drags because it constantly raises the stakes. Miranda's impossible demands escalate. Andy's personal relationships fray. The Paris trip looms as both an opportunity and a threat. Each scene builds logically on the last, maintaining tension while allowing moments of humor and humanity. Frankel also captures the energy of the runway office brilliantly. The chaotic rhythms, phone ringing, assistants scrambling, Miranda's coat flying through the air create a palpable sense of pressure. We understand why Andy is overwhelmed because we feel overwhelmed watching it. Notice how the film uses space. Early scenes show Andy lost in crowd rooms, bumping into people out of place. Later scenes shows her navigating the same spaces with ease. People parting before her. The visual shorthand communicates her growth without a word of dialogue. The direction serves the story rather than drawing attention to itself. Every choice, from the montages to Paris locations to the final shot of Andy crossing the bridge, supports the narrative and themes. These trends connect directly to communication, concepts like paralanguage, persuasive communication, and the visual communication of power. They are why this film remains a beloved classic. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself Navami. Today I'll be discussing the weakness and the areas of improvement in The Devil Wears Prada. While the movie is entertaining and powerful, especially in its portrayal of ambition and the fashion industry, when we analyze it from a management and organizational behavior perspective, we can identify several important limitations. One of the major weaknesses of the film is its portrayal of leadership through the character of Miranda. She is shown as extremely competent and influential editor, but her leadership style is autocratic and fear-based. She manages her employees through intimidation rather than inspiration. There is no culture of open communication, feedback, or emotional support. Employees are constantly anxious, and mistakes are not treated as learning opportunities but as failures deserving humiliations. So, in modern management practices, leadership is expected to be transformational, emotionally intelligent, and empowering. However, the film almost normalizes the toxic authority by presenting Miranda's behavior as a necessary part of success. This sends a problematic message that fear is an effective and acceptable leadership tool, which is reality leads to burnout and high employee turnover. Another weakness is the way the film portrays work-life balance. Throughout the movie, we see Andy gradually sacrificing her personal relationships for professional success. She loses time with her friends, faces conflict with her boyfriend, and begins to change her personality to fit in the corporate culture. This narrative entirely suggests that career growth requires personal sacrifice and emotional detachment. While ambition is important, modern organizations emphasize balance, mental well-being, and sustainable career growth. The film could have shown that it is possible to succeed professionally without completely losing identity and relationship. Instead, it reinforces the outdated idea that success comes at the cost of the happiness. The film also glorifies toxic work culture, practically in high pressure industries like fashion. Long working hours, unrealistic expectations, last minute demands, and extreme competition are portrayed as glamorous and prestigious. Employees compete with each other rather than collaborate. Office politics, manipulation, and power games are normalized. From a business ethics perspective, this raises concern. Healthy organizations today focus on employment, engagement, collaboration, and ethical practices. And also, the movie reinforces the certain gender stereotypes. Miranda is portrayed as a powerful but emotionally distant woman, which subtly suggests that women in leadership must sacrifice warmth and relationships to succeed. A more balanced portrayal of strong yet empathetic female leadership would have made the film more progressive. And the film glamorizes the toxic work culture, long hours, extreme pressure, and office politics are shown as prestigious rather than the problematic. So while The Devil Wears Prada is entertaining and impactful, it reflects outdated leadership models, glamorizes unhealthy work culture, and presents a narrow view of success. With a more balanced representation, it could have offered not just entertainment but also more responsible about leadership and growth. So while analyzing this movie, we can say that reinforces negative bias about female leadership, and it also suggests success requires emotional suppression, lacks portrayal of collaborative female leadership. And also, if the weaknesses are saying about like women's in power are portrayed as cold, emotionally detached, aggressive. So mainly the Miranda fits as an ice cream stereotype. So what are the areas of importance is mainly in Devil Wears Prada is it shows the HR accountability, depict the consequences for unethical behavior, highlight employment mental health impact. And also in another side of fashion industries, the weaknesses are glorified as a it is superficial, status driven, and it is politically manipulative, extremely competitive. But the movie glamorizes it as a normal. While analyzing the another part of this movie, which is overworking is normalized, unrealistic expectations are rewarded, and also exploitation is disguised as ambition. So, from my perspective, like it reflects a poor extra practices and unethical corporate behavior. So, the movie is overall entertainment, but it risks the romanticizing the corporate toxicity instead of critically challenging it. So, we can say that it is reinforces the stereotype that powerful woman must sacrifice warmth and relationship. Thank you.
So, hello everyone, myself Jayanth, and today I'll be talking about the motivation, message, and audience impact of the movie The Devil Wears Prada. Directed by David Frankel and starring Meryl Streep and Annie Hathaway. The film is more than just a story about fashion, it's about ambition, self discovery, and the cost of success. Motivation. The movie's core motivation revolves around personal growth and ambition. The main character, Andy, starts off as a simple, idealistic girl who dreams of becoming a journalist. She unexpectedly lands a job as an assistant to Miranda, the most powerful and intimidating editor in chief of Runway magazine, a character loosely inspired by Annie Wintour, the real life editor of Vogue. At first, Annie doesn't care about fashion at all, but as she gets deeper into her work, she learns that success in any industry demands effort, adaptability, and respect for the craft, even if it's something she initially looked down on. The motivation here is clear to show that growth happens when we step out of our comfort zone. Andy's transformation teaches us that we can adapt, learn, and excel even in unfamiliar environments. Message. Now let's talk about the message the movie conveys. At its heart, the Devil Wears Prada sends several powerful messages. Success comes with sacrifice. The film portrays how ambition can take over personal relationships, morals, and happiness. Andy achieves professional success, but she realizes she is losing herself in the process. Know your boundaries. It's important to know when to say no. Andy eventually recognizes that success isn't worth it if it means compromising who she truly is. Respect others' passions. The film also challenges our judgments. In the beginning, Andy sees fashion as shallow, but through Miranda and her team, she learns that fashion is a serious creative industry that affects millions of people globally. Women empowerment. Both Miranda and Andy represent different kinds of strong women. Miranda as the established powerhouse, and Andy as the young woman finding her voice. The film shows how people navigate power, ambition, and identity in competitive spaces. So, the movie's message is not just about the fashion world, it's about finding balance between ambition and authenticity. Now, let us take a look about the audience impact. The impact this film has had on audiences around the world is remarkable. For many viewers, The Devil Wears Prada is deeply motivating. It inspires young professionals, especially women, to work hard, chase their dreams, and not be afraid of challenges. It also encourages self reflection. After watching the movie, many people start asking themselves, am I happy with the path I am on? Am I being true to myself, or am I just chasing success for others' approval? Miranda, with her calm and commanding personality, became an icon, a symbol of power, leadership, and excellence. On the other hand, Andy represents the ordinary person's journey through pressure, transformation, and realization. The movie also had a cultural impact. It made people view the fashion industry with new respect and curiosity. After its release, fashion wasn't seen as just glamour, it was seen as hard work, strategy, and creativity. Even today, almost 20 years later, people quote lines like, that's all. Everyone wants this. Everyone wants to be us. Because the movie still resonates with modern workplace struggles, dealing with demanding bosses, balancing work life, and maintaining individuality in a world that constantly tries to shape you. To sum it up, The Devil Wears Prada is far more than a film about fashion. It's a journey of growth, identity, and ambition. It teaches us that every challenge we face, even the toughest one, can become a stepping stone towards discovering who we truly are. The movie motivates us to embrace change instead of fearing it. It reminds us that success isn't defined by the brand names we wear or the positions we hold, but by the confidence, passion, and integrity we carry within ourselves. Through Andy's journey, we learn that sometimes losing ourselves in the chaos of ambition helps us find what we really matters. She grows from being uncertain and inexperienced to becoming strong, independent, and self aware. Miranda, on the other hand, symbolizes excellence, discipline, and the praise that comes with perfection. Together, they represent two sides of the coin, the drive to succeed and the need to stay human. The film's beauty lies in its reliability. Whether you're a student chasing dreams, an employee working under pressure, or someone trying to find balance in life, there's something in the story for everyone. It reminds us that confidence doesn't come from approval. It comes from self belief. It tells us that we can respect ambition without losing empathy, and that real power is not in commanding others but in staying true to ourselves no matter the situation. In the end, The Devil Wears Prada leaves us with a timeless message. Being ambitious, but don't lose your authenticity. Strive for success, but never forget your happiness. And remember, your values are the best outfit you can ever wear. Because style fades, but character never goes out of fashion. That's why, even years after its release, this movie continues to inspire audiences across generations. It reminds us that in a world obsessed with appearances and competition, the most important thing we can do is to stay genuine, confident, and kind. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Khush and I'll be conclude this review. As we come on to the end of this review, The Devil Wears Prada, I would like to briefly connect all the points discussed by my team and share the final takeaways. Throughout this presentation, we didn't see this movie just as a fusion film. We looked as it a corporate case study. The story of Andy is actually the story of many young professionals. She enters a new organization with dreams and strong personal values, but slowly the workplace starts shaping her personality. This shows us an important management lesson. Organizations don't just give jobs, they influence identity. From leadership perspective, Miranda is a strong and powerful leader. She is confident, intelligent, and very clear about her expectations. She demands perfection and does not tolerate mistakes. Because of this, the organization runs efficiently. But at the same time, her leadership creates fear. Employees obey her, but they are not emotionally connected to her. This makes us think, is leadership only about result, or is it also about empathy and emotional understanding? As a future manager, we must remember that authority is important, but emotional intelligence is equally important. Another major learning from this film is about organizational culture. Runaway magazine has a very strong culture, high standards, high pressure, high expectations. If you want to survive there, you must adapt. Andy changes her dressing style, behavior, priorities, and even her relationships. At first, she resists, then she adapts, then she almost loses herself. This shows how powerful workplace culture can be. It can be motivational people, but it can also slowly change their value. The turning point of the movie is when Andy realizes she is becoming someone she never wanted to be. She understands that professional success is costing her personal happiness and identity. And finally, she chooses to walk away. The decision is very important. It teaches us that success should not come at the cost of self-esteem. Ambition is good, growth is good, career success is important, but losing yourself in the process is not worth it. From a management point of view, the movie gives us four key lessons. First, leadership should balance performance and empathy. Second, strong organizational culture must not ignore employees' well-being. Third, ambition must have ethical boundaries. And fourth, true success means alignment between career and personal values. Even though this movie was released years ago, it's still relevant today. Many corporate environments still faces issues like burnout, work-life imbalance, high competition, identity pressure. This is why the movie still connects with audience. It reflects real workplace challenges. So to conclude, The Devil Wear Prada is not just about fashion. It is about power, leadership, ambition, identity, and choice. It shows us that while organizations are powerful, individual decisions are more powerful. As a future professional, the real question is we must ask ourselves is how far are we willing to go for success? And most importantly, can we grow professionally without losing who we truly are? So this was our overall perspective as a team on The Devil Wears Prada. Thank you so much for listening.